Hey guys, welcome back to Ultimate S&S. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. So just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you can do around your own house to help put a little bit of food on your table that really no extra cost to you. So what I would recommend doing if you live out in the country area is to check around your yard, see if you can find a lot of different types of plants that will actually be producing naturally that you can use to add food to your stores or even your current table. So an interesting plant that you can find in most yards, this here is brown thistle, and as it grows and starts to mature, these will sharpen up and they will become a dark golden brown color. And you can actually mill that down into flour. You can use the roots of it in a tea as well. So as you can see across the yard, this is the early stage of it as it's starting to blossom. And you get these little white flowers and they will turn hard, turn into a long thistle, and it becomes a type of a flower. It is a natural grain. Now you can actually take and dig that up by the roots and plant it in your own garden and keep the weeds back, and what's going to happen is it's going to really start to multiply, and if you keep that ground fertilized, you're going to really increase the harvest of that. You're not going to really have any additional cost, especially if you're keeping chickens and things, which you can hear mine in the background over here. That would be Hank back there. He likes to get to crowing around when he sees or hears you outside. Now, if you're more into a modern food source, I would really recommend growing different types of cucumbers, guys. These plants were actually put in as seeds. It has been about 2.5 weeks. And as you can see, when we look down here, we are starting to get our flowers going. We're getting a lot of blossoms. We're going to be getting some female blossoms here in a few days, I'm sure. And these will actually grow. These here get about 16 inches long on this particular type of cucumber. One thing that you can also do, you can eat the blossoms. So if you're seeing male flowers and not really any females, you can always come out and pick those as well. Some people grind them up, dry them up, grind them up, or you can just eat them in a salad. I mean, cucumbers grow very fast, so about 4 or 5 days ago I actually put out some seeds, and these are those white spine that we grew earlier. We seeded some out and planted them in. As you can see, they have taken off in just a matter of about 5 days. They are really shooting up in size. Maybe you're living in an area where it's a very hot climate, and when it's really hot, there's certain types of plants that will stop producing well, and you're going to start having to deal with you getting mostly male flowers, not really any females. So the plant I would recommend if you're in that type of an area, especially in the summertime, if you want to be bringing food in and you want something that's really going to be prolific and just kick out a lot of fruit, what you're going to want to grow is okra. So as you can see, our okra pods are getting to where they're kicking out 4, 5, and 6 at a time. I keep these trimmed about every 2 days. We came out and trimmed this morning. This was only about half the size. All it takes is watering that garden, or like we're getting our rainy season in right now. And that is really perfect for okra because every day we're getting new blossoms. We're picking fruit off of it. And that's what you want to see. You want to see where you're getting your new buds at the top here as well. And that's all going to turn into okra. I mean, we're looking at probably, I'm saying 8 or 9 future pods. They will flower out. You don't have to worry about your bees and things like that pollinating. What actually tends to happen with these okra plants is you're going to notice that they're going to have ants running up and down the spine. And those ants actually come up and they go inside these flowers and they move that pollen around. So they are actually pollinating okra. That's kind of a little known fact when it comes to okra, that ants will actually pollinate it. Now, I don't know if that works on all types of garden plants, but it has been working great with our okra. These are not fire ants, thankfully, but we are probably going to have to come back out and harvest this. I'll probably wait till tomorrow morning, let this stuff get a little bigger in size, but we're getting quite a few pods. And really, that's the thing when it comes to okra, is once it really starts to come in, you're looking at getting, 2 pounds sometimes off of a plant, especially if you've had some heavy rains like what we've been having. Once the sun comes back into full bloom, we're really going to see these things explode and take off. Our tomato plants are looking really good out here. These were sowed into the ground directly. As far as how do you get these to actually grow sowed into the ground, what I typically do is I like to put out diatomaceous earth around wherever my seeds are at, and that's going to keep a lot of different types of pests off of it. Now, I would not recommend using different types of table salt, but you can get like Epsom salt and put it lightly around, not directly over seeds, but around the perimeter. That's going to keep slugs and things away too. And that's typically what's coming in and eating your early tomato plants right as they sprout is going to be slugs and snails and stuff like that. I don't know what it is, but they love them tomato plants. So if you don't have an area to start it indoors, there's a couple tips for you to be able to grow some directly in the ground outside. But you want to check and make sure that your pH is not out of whack. I try to aim for more of a neutral pH at the early stage, and as those plants get a little bigger, then you can really start to kind of focus and give it just a little bit more of a acidic, not so much alkaline type of an environment, and you will watch them thrive that way. For me, I've noticed around, I'm going to have to say probably around a 6 on the pH seems to work out pretty well for me. Now it may be different depending on the tomato plants that you're growing. These are a new variety that I've not had a lot of experience with. I have seen them before. They typically have a lot of different colors, a little bit different look than your normal tomatoes that you're going to buy in the store, but pretty much the same types of stuff. You want to make sure that you have a lot of calcium in the ground. Something else I would recommend is finding a really good sweet corn variety. This particular variety I'm showing you, we did one crop with them already. Typically within about 2 months, these are going to actually be all ready for harvest. So this is the Silver Queen sweet corn. You get anywhere between 2 to 3 ears per line, but you have really large ears of corn, and they sprout up and grow in very fast. I planted these in the ground 4 days ago, and as you can see, I mean, they're a good probably 4 inches tall already. So I know you've seen some of our sustainability videos and some of our prepping videos where we're telling you, you need to go out and you need to get your food now because there's a lot of food shortages that are happening. We're seeing a lot of shortages, not just in food, but we're also seeing gasoline prices go up. We're seeing where the variety of the food is not as high as it used to be. We're seeing a lot of empty shelves in the stores, and the stuff that you actually do see in the store, unfortunately, that stuff has gone way up in price. That we had some reports in from some of our viewers, and apparently they're looking at $44 is what they were saying it was for 5 pounds of ground beef. That's insane. I'm not going to pay that. I mean, that's $4 a pound. Actually, let's see. This actually comes up to more than that. The average price I'm seeing here is about $8, and that's for those 1 pound tubes that you can find. Now, I don't usually buy flash frozen burgers and stuff like that, but at the rate of what they were charging up there, that might be a way to go. Just make sure that you're not getting burgers and stuff that are mostly soy content. Unless you're wanting a soy burger, then that's fine. That's up to you. Me personally, I like my meat to basically be meat. So something else I highly recommend, if you like sweet stuff, you're going to be seeing a lot of the candy prices go up. I used to buy these different things that were spice drops and stuff. They were $2.50 for basically a pound of candy. You're not picking it up for that anymore. Now it's getting more like $6. So something that's healthy for you, that's going to be nice and sweet, will be different types of melons and stuff. So this here are my cantaloupe plants. They are climbing on this fence here pretty nice. And as you can see, they just come straight up. They grab it with a tendril, and they just continue to bloom and blossom. So I've been noticing that we're starting to get some of our female flowers actually on this plant. So we're going to take some of our male flowers and we're going to hand pollinate a lot of this stuff here in the next morning. So if you come out and you're seeing your flowers are not open, check it late in the evening and check early in the morning, and that's typically when you're going to find these flowers open. They don't typically open too much during the day. Part of the reason you're not going to see those open so much during the day is because, one, the flower is a little more tender, so that's going to give some protection from the sun as it's getting hotter, but also because you're going to have key times when pollinators are actually out, and somehow or another those plants know when the pollinators are moving around, and it's usually in the mornings and then in the evenings when you're going to see a lot of pollinators. You're not going to see a lot of bees and direct sun plants in the middle of the day when it's 105 degrees outside. The bees are typically back doing their stuff at the hive, whether it's expanding and working the wax in those types of temperatures or whatever it is that bees do, guys. You will actually notice it's usually in the morning, right about an hour after sun up, and then about 2 hours before the sun goes down, when you start noticing your pollinators moving around a little bit. So when it comes to other types of plants, such as your squash plants and your zucchini plants, depending on what you're using, you're going to notice too that it's easier to prevent squash beetles than it is to get rid of squash beetles. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of questions about, well, how do you get rid of squash beetles? Well, typically if you're noticing that you've got squash beetles, then you're going to have them boring into fines already, and you're going to start running into issues with that. So typically what I do is when I put them out, I try to keep them, and it's hard to do in the summer or when it's raining in the summertime, but you want to keep those out using diatomaceous earth. Now you don't want to be using diatomaceous earth when they go into bloom, because you will inadvertently kill your pollinators, and you don't want to do that. So you can buy different types of chemicals and stuff that you can spray on. They have some that are natural, some that are chemical. So you're going to have to go to your local store and see what's available to you. So one of our subscribers had mentioned this stuff that they actually put in like a syringe and you inject into plants. So I've not been able to find that locally. I'm going to see if I can order that online. And once we do, we'll bring a video camera out here and show you how we do that. So it's not something I've had experience with, but I did lose a couple of squash plants this year, and about 5 of my cucumber plants had just got finally just wiped out by the boring beetles out here. And it's just one of those things, when you start getting a lot of rain, diatomaceous earth is only good in hot weather when it's dry. The more humid it gets, the wetter it is, that diatomaceous earth is not going to do you any good. So that's when you need to start looking at other types of avenues and, you know, different things that you can do. If you look at my squash plants here, you're going to see most of it's green. We do have a few leaves that are in some bad shape, but you want to be watching for this type of stuff. So that can indicate that there was mold on that leaf at some point and it's killing it. I'm not seeing any powdery mold, so chances are it's just an old leaf and can simply be trimmed out. But if you start looking and it looks like there's like white, almost grayish powder on your leaves, that is a type of a mold spore. And the easiest way to deal with that stuff, instead of buying real expensive stuff, I just take that apple cider vinegar and I mix it 3/4 water to 1/4 of the apple cider vinegar and spray that directly on the leaves, top and bottom. And that's going to not only kill the mold, it's going to make your plants real green within just a couple days, but it's also going to help prevent that mold from growing, because it needs a certain type of a pH. And if you will use that vinegar, it's going to adjust the pH of the outside of the leaf in such a way it's not hospitable for that to grow. But I hope this video has been informative to you. Like I say, this is basically, well, technically, if you consider the garden that got wiped out by the frost that hit early this year, and the one that pretty got ruined by a lot of rain right at the beginning of the year, and then the one that has grown in, we had tomato plants and all that type of stuff in here. We had a lot of greens and stuff, and all of that has already been picked. It's been harvested. Our corn plants were harvested, so that gave us a chance where we could come in and start growing more greens and things like that. It's going to do very well in the summertime. Now when it gets closer to fall, you can come out and start planting your tenders, especially in this area. You don't want to be trying to grow a lot of lettuce in the summertime when it's over 100 degrees, because it's going to cause it to bolt. Now you can eat it before it bolts, but you want to have a plant that you can come in and continue to pull off of that year round. And it's really hard to do in the summertime. Now maybe if you had greenhouses in the proper shade, you could grow that stuff year round, but in direct sunlight with these direct heats, it's going to be very hard to do that. So try to plan your gardens out to where you might have to come in and put in a second planting in the summertime and know it's going to do well in the summertime. Collard greens do great in the summer. Your radishes and your turnips and stuff, when you put them in, if you keep them cut, they will continue to produce greens. They're not going to bulb too much, but if you don't keep them cut, then you will start to notice that they will bolt and they will actually start producing seeds rather than continuing to do greens. So to keep them coming back, you have to keep cutting them, which is actually a great thing to have. And if you got chickens, that's prime time to be able to save back, continue to buy your chicken feed, set it back so you'll have it in the winter time, but feed them stuff that you could grow in the garden very easily with almost no help at all. So if you're going to look over here, we have a patch of our collard greens here. You're going to notice there's quite a few weeds in it. Those collards will actually take and choke those weeds out, so I'm not too worried about them. And plus, when I pick them, it's going to be just grabbing the grass, the weed stuff along with the collards, and we'll pick up a big bushel of them and take them back there and give those to the chickens, and they will eat weeds, they will eat whatever they want. So some of these weeds that grow, you can actually eat those yourself. It's totally up to you what you want to grow and cultivate. But look in your yards, see what you have, and if you don't have the investment to be able to take and put a lot of money into it, it's an area where you can cultivate in your own yard and grow some of the natural plants and stuff that you have growing around already. And the reason you're going to want to do that is because you're seeing the increase of price, the increase of availability that's there. And if you're not buying your food now, if you're not growing your own food now, you're not stockpiling, you're going to have it very hard here in the near future. That's not just me saying that. That is coming straight from government sources. That's coming from the UN and all around the world right now. People will need to realize that we need to take a step back and get back to a basic lifestyle of at least providing some of the stuff that we eat ourselves. It's going to help you in the cost in the future. And if you continue to buy a lot of those things today, you're going to be able to put them back to when you're going to have bad weather, especially our northern states where you get a lot of snow. Now, if you have greenhouses and areas to grow in, that's great, but not everybody has that option. So you need to be thinking ahead now. There's still time to get you some gardens in and be able to get some stuff going. I don't know where the question comes through about what summertime can I start my garden now. I really do. I think that you can grow your garden. And here's why. All of this stuff is started by seed just within the last 3 weeks. Our corn, our golden zucchini plants, and our tomato plants growing in. And all of this new cucumber growth coming in as well. So can you grow from seed into summertime outside? Absolutely. Don't know why you couldn't. Don't even know where that question comes from. But everyone have a wonderful day.